inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. And all the other days, sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Be carefree lately, yeah. Just kicking up daisies. Got one too many quarters in my pockets. Count 'em like the 4-leaf clovers in my locket.
Podcaster, content creator, YouTuber, Riverside is your online recording studio. That is the quickest and easiest way to get the best audio and video quality, not only just for me, but for the guests that came in. Riverside, make them look professional, make me look professional, and get that content out to the world. I mean, hands down, that's what I love. So get Riverside, just press record, just start. Riverside, creativity simplified.
It happened. We got the house!
You did!
2,000 miles away.
We do long distance moves every day.
Pods does all the driving and so much more.
Need extra help loading?
Yes.
We got this.
Also might want
more time? We're flexible.
Flexible means you can keep your container longer or store with us. Then we deliver it to your home, across town or across the country.
We made it.
Yeah, you did!
Pods, your personal moving and storage team.
Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams. Got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery and count sheep.
When it hurts like this, we climb the greatest heights, jump down and have a fight, and that's all we'll ever like, but that can never change my mind. When it's good, it's amazing. When it's
unmuted. Transitioning. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Corey Listoki. Sean Kane will be joining me in just 1 second. Penn State in the market for a defensive line coach. Going to be talking about that. Going to be talking a little potential spring football just around the corner, just over a week away. Defensive back draft to end the show. And not to bury the lead a little bit there, but Penn State has a new commit. A lot to talk about today. We'll get right after it in just 1 second. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Corey Listoki. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How are you doing today, Sean?
Doing awesome. How are you, Corey?
I'm doing wonderful. I am in the thick of things, Sean. I am at ground zero. I am here in State College, Pennsylvania, recording from Toff Trees. Hope everyone is doing well. Are
you there for the big James Franklin interview?
Yes, yeah, that is exactly why I'm here. I'm after this. I'm heading right over to his house to record it in his awesome basement that he has. No, maybe one day that will be be true, but right now, no, that is not why. But nonetheless, I am in State College and life is good. And Sean, I'm ready to talk Penn State football. Well, I'm actually not really that ready. Podcast equipment was set up last minute, but we got it going. I brought it with me. I'm very glad that I did because we're not sure exactly when I might exactly be heading back yet. So, doing well, Sean. Doing well. How are you doing? This is the closest we've been for a while, you and me.
Yeah, we were
since the wedding, I guess.
Yeah, we were together for the wedding. Corey and I did not get married, but we were together for a wedding. And
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yes, I had to clear that up. You haven't been back in Pennsylvania since, right? And I mean, you travel a lot, but I don't think you've been back in PA since then.
Yeah, I think that's correct. The last time I was in State College was August. So,
what brought you up then? I forget.
It was just work. So,
that's right.
I was actually in State College for the Purdue game, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah.
But kind of was in hindsight half a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why I'm like flickering right now, but I'm flickering a little bit, aren't I?
Maybe it's a ghost.
Like a rave. I don't know what that's
so we
all
had
about.
We had Jay Paterno on last week. Is Joe joining us?
I don't know, but isn't that weird? I don't know if I should turn off. I don't know, Sean. Let me see if I what if I do this.
Whatever you think. I mean,
What about that?
It's still flickering. It might even be worse right now.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's try.
Yeah, I could still see you.
No.
It's still flickering. Yeah.
I'm like a flickering man of. I don't know what that's all about.
Maybe it's Joe Paterno.
Look at that. I don't know. That's a different one. That's a new. We have not. Oh, is it good now?
Yeah, it looks good now. Oh, now.
Oh, no. There it goes again. That's a new one for me. I will continue to mess with that as we go throughout this. But yeah, Sean, what are your final thoughts on the Jay Paterno interview? I guess. I mean, we got honestly, we got a lot of really good feedback. Like a lot of people reach out to us and like, hey, I wasn't really sure before you did it, and then you did the interview, and I was like, and they're like it was a lot better than we thought it was gonna be. Which, to be honest with you, like Sean, I thought it was better than I thought it was gonna be too. Right? I thought Jay didn't shy away from any of the questions that we were asking. I thought there was a lot of really good stuff in there.
I probably gained a respect for Jay Paterno after the interview, and I never really had much against him. I know a lot of the fans do not like Jay for a myriad of reasons, and I mean, was he a perfect quarterback coach? No, no. And we asked him about that. We asked him about his record at Penn State as a coach. We told him some areas where we disagreed with him as a board member, because we're not going to shy away from things. But yeah, I gained a lot of respect that he sat down for 2.5 hours and just kind of answered our questions. And we only agreed to about an hour, and Jay continued to stay on. He could have said, I'm done at any time, but he didn't. He stuck in there. And I mean, look, did we grill him? I don't think so. But I mean, not every question was a softball either. So I gained a lot of respect for him. There was only one time that I thought he was kind of dodgy, and it was his reasoning behind his vote against the Lash building expansion, because he cited COVID, but then he started talking about other things and other reasons why he didn't support it. So when he was doing that, I had in the back of my head, all right, I'm going to follow him up. I'm going to follow up on this. And he did. I mean, and again, I respect this. He did truthfully say, when I asked him if the vote for the expansion came up today, would he vote against it or would he vote for it? As I'm battling with my cat, hi Mitch. He said he would still vote. He would still vote against it, and it's because he doesn't like the way that it was paid for. It's going to be paid with a 30-year bond. And hey, I mean, that's fine. And so I think that's the thing he had the biggest issue with as far as the Lash building expansion goes. I still disagree. I still think you vote for it. I mean, maybe you can massage the details of that, but I kind of think things like that pay for themselves, and they're going to pay dividends in the long run. But that was his reasoning. And okay, I mean, it's just a difference of opinion. I don't think it's some grand conspiracy that Jay has that he's going to try to sabotage the program from within. I was never convinced of that, and I don't think it's that now. I think also a thing that I came away with is he's still very committed to the football program, and he still loves Penn State. He didn't seem like a bitter ex-employee to me. So,
yeah,
that's me.
I don't have like the financial wherewithal to know, like, the way he made it seem like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to have a 30-year car payment either. But I don't know if that's the correct being presented. I just don't know. I don't know enough about finances to do that. The way he put it, it sounded like, yeah, that seems like a dumb way to pay off something like that. But exactly what it was, I don't know. Is how everyone else does it? I don't know.
Right. And then that's the other thing. Why did only 4 people oppose it?
Yeah. Now, I do think there isn't a certain level of, and I do think he has to balance that line of, I do want to be cognizant of how we're spending money at Penn State, right? I totally get that, right? And he's like, I turned down the art stuff and all that, and I get that. And I respect that, right? Because you will have people that say, just throw whatever possible amount of money towards a football program to win a championship, right? No matter what, even if it doesn't really change anything, just throw all the money possible. So I do think it's important that people do, in his position, do their research and understand what the heck they're talking about. And they're not just not yes men for the football program. I respect that. I do think it's harder for him with his history and his past to be the voice of that, or at least the leader of that, right? If he votes in addition to other people, I think that's fine. But I think that's going to be really hard for him to be to carry the flag of that movement, right? Because it's always going to look like sour grapes, no matter what. It's going to look like sour grapes. So I think it's a hard line to kind of hold for him, because you want to do things the right way. But if he's a leader of the push, whether it's right or wrong, if he's a leader of the push against money that's going to support the football program, it's never going to look good. It just never is, Sean.
Yeah, and those are the headlines. Jay Paterno opposes Lash building expansion. I don't even know who the other people were. I know there are only a few of them that opposed it, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who the other guys were that opposed it. But my thing with that is, and I would like to get, I mean, and maybe a good future interview, Brandon Short. I would like to get his perspective on it because Brandon Short was very much in favor of this, and he is more of the we need to go all in approach on football. And I feel like they have I'm going to rephrase that. I feel like they have different ideas and they approach things differently. I think we're all on the same team here. Again, I don't think it's some grand conspiracy that Jay's out to hurt the football program. I just think they have opposing ideas. And like the player dorms, Jay was very, when I asked him about the player dorms, he was very dismissive of that idea. He said, no, players have to live on campus with fellow students. Fine. If that's his viewpoint, okay. I mean, and that's the thing, guys. In this world, when somebody disagrees with you, I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't give you license to just hate on them. I mean, I'd be fine with player dorms because other schools have them, and I do think you're going to live more comfortably in them. Now, I think it could get complicated. I think there could be some Title IX concerns, but other schools do it. So, I mean, I don't know why we couldn't.
I am in the camp of Penn State football players already, and most athletes, I would say, fall into this camp at Penn State, but most definitely the football team. They already are so isolated from the student body. I would say 95% of the time. I think if there is opportunity, especially that first freshman summer, to be around freshmen, I think that's good for them. And you already basically have changed their college experience. Like, I know they still can party from time to time, but these, like, I don't think people realize like what college students don't really have a normal college experience anymore. These winter workouts that everybody loves to talk about and discuss, like, I don't think people realize how early those are. Like, I'm having my coffee in the morning and Mike Gersich is posting the results of who is the quarterback of the competition. These guys, I mean, these workouts start crazy early, and then towards the end of the night, they got study hall and all sorts. So they already, from the get-go, right? Some of these early enrollees just got to campus, and they already are not experiencing a normal college life. So I would say any opportunity to where you can give them that. Now, I don't think putting them in Beaver is the answer either, but any way you can get them to be around college students more is going to be beneficial. And I know, like, you can say, oh, they go to class all the time. Most of them go to classes with other athletes. I mean, they're all like, I don't want to say that they're all like that because that's not fair, but a lot of them are taking the exact same classes as one another because A, it has to fit their schedule. Well, the only one that can fit their schedule is other football and other athletes. And B, a lot of them, especially early on, are taking a lot of the same classes. And on top of that, they're taking classes in a summer where the majority of the people that are there. And on top of that, they're getting through their career and getting to the next part when a lot of the other undergrads and 20-year-olds haven't done that because they haven't been there for all the summer sessions. So they're in their own world as it is. They eat separately. They study separately. I think it's good if we can provide, especially early on, right? First year, second year, more opportunities for them to be around people their age and be normal. Unfortunately, Sean, I just think that's probably going to continue to not be the case moving forward, right? I mean, they're not normal, but I think it's important that they could just act to be normal every once in a while.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, right? I think the normalcy has always been sort of a facade. Like, when Saquon lived at Beaver the same year as I did, Sean Kane and Saquon Barkley were two different people. We did two different things. Well, the only thing we had in common was we were students at Penn State, and that was it. And
You
mean,
weren't lifting the same amount he was?
I was not. I was not, and he wasn't eating the same things I was eating. And although I did see him at McDonald's once, did not.
And you didn't yell at him?
No,
Okay,
I did
that's
not
good.
yell. Only day shot. But I did see him sitting with his friends. I think it was after Halloween one year. Yeah, anyway, we're not the same. The students and the student athletes, they're just not the same people, especially the football players, because the football players bring in more money than almost anybody on, probably anybody on campus. Like, definitely athletes, but outside of researchers, I mean, they generate so much revenue. And it's kind of like I'm in the camp of let's get rid of the facade. These guys are different, and I'm all right with accommodating them. Now, does it make them more pampered? Yeah. Does it make them more separated? Yeah. But I want to win a national championship. And maybe that sounds win at all costs, but I don't think it is. I mean, I'm not advocating for. I mean, we're not Alabama basketball. Let me put it that way.
But I guess my question is that going to get you any closer to win a national championship?
Maybe there's a kid that doesn't want to live in Beaver. I mean, and he could go somewhere else. And maybe that kid will be a difference maker. I mean, is it alone going to separate us from a national championship? No, but it all matters. It all matters. That's
I get
something
that. I
James
just think
Franklin
you're selling.
really emphasizes is everything matters, and sometimes I kind of think he overemphasizes it. But I generally agree with his feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I do too. And I would make the argument there's benefits to them being around other students early on that would actually might help the football team from a character perspective, from a leadership perspective, as those guys get older. So I just think there's benefits to it. I mean, I think you could honestly say maybe more of those guys decide to stay and not transfer or not leave because they're homesick because they've been able to be around other students instead of already being isolated. So I think there's an argument there for saying, hey, it's actually better for your football program moving forward. But it's an interesting concept, right? Because you're trying to find the any advantage you can. I'm just saying Penn State's not going to win the Big Ten next year because Sean Kane and Saquon Barkley were living in the same dorm. I would be comfortable enough saying that. And I get that everything helps, and maybe the Chop Robinson of the world didn't want to come, or whoever it was. Back in the day, it was it Nick Cross? I don't know who it was. There was a player.
Is there?
Yeah, there was a rumor about that somebody didn't want to come because of where they might have to stay their first year, but I don't know if that was true or not. But
and I mean, it could have been. I mean, would you be in the L-shaped beds?
Well,
that's a sleeping setup in Beaver.
Yeah, I was in there. Well, I was in Pollock for
okay.
For like N new student orientation or whatever. So I had to stay one night in those. I was like, I will not stay in those. And thankfully that didn't happen because that is pretty awful. Sean, I don't want to bury the lead anymore. We got a new commit. And honestly, by the time we talk again, there might be another new commit. But let's talk about the one that is for certain right now, and that's Kari Jackson, linebacker, 2024 class from was it West Bloomfield High School, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, which I did not know. That is where Lance Dixon is from. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I knew he was from Michigan, but I didn't know I knew the high school was familiar. I didn't know who went there though. I don't know if he went to where the Kings went, but
yeah, I don't know if he went to West Bloomfield, but he's from Bloomfield Hills. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know all the high schools in Bloomfield Hills, but yeah, Lance Dixon. There's been a couple guys from that area. One went to Michigan State, one guy went to Michigan. But anyway, Jackson, technically, well, Rivals has him as a 4-star. A lot of people have him as a 3-star. We always take the highest rating because that's how we roll. But Sean, I know we say this quite a bit about a lot of guys, but I really like his film. I really think he could turn into a 4-star guy before it's all said and done, or a true 4-star guy by the time it's all said and done. And Tyler Calvaruso from 24/7 Sports said something interesting. He said that although there's highly or more highly rated guys at the linebacker spot in front of Jackson, Penn State had Jackson higher on their board than a lot of other people did. I mean, his top 9 wasn't crazy impressive. I mean, there was UCF on there, there was Missouri, there was, I think, Cincinnati was on there, but Penn State wanted this guy, and I mean, I think it says something for it being February, or I guess March now, and they're saying, yeah, we want you to commit in the 2024 class. So another linebacker, another middle linebacker. That's 2 now. It's Specca. 2 guys that are like true inside linebacker guys, which Sean to me tells me that, hey, you might see Rojas, you might see Tamir Robinson, you might see Kavion Keys stay to the outside potentially, because you have 2 guys you think can play inside next year. So it'll be interesting to see if that's part of the reason why. But Sean, I really like Kari Jackson. Like I said, I think he could be a 4-star. I think he plays really fast. I think he tackles really well, and I don't think he is hesitant. Which I mean, it shows up in his tackles. I think he was over 100 tackles on last season. So I really like Kari Jackson. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a true Mike. Definitely plays the middle well. Maybe not crazy athletic, but his size is good. And him and Specca, it's interesting. Like Brian Doan used to always say, he used to always pose this question to Penn State fans: does this guy help Penn State beat Ohio State? And now I think, yes, you're still asking that question because Penn State has to beat Ohio State, and Ohio State's still really damn good. Now, another question is, does this guy help you beat Michigan? And to me, Kari Jackson does help you beat Michigan because you have to be strong at the middle linebacker spot. And I think it's very interesting that Penn State has 2 middle linebacker commits already. And Kari Jackson, he's stout against the runs. Let's see, he had 103 tackles last year as a junior. So this guy's a tackling machine. I really thought last year a guy we missed was Ellis Brooks. And if we have Ellis Brooks, I mean, we might have another win. And I think that machine game is more competitive. And he seems to be in that kind of mold in my mind. So, yeah, big fan of this commit. It was also, speaking of Michigan, nice to go into their backyard and pull someone out of there. Penn State has recruited Michigan well in the past few years. I think we had someone from Michigan last year. I don't remember for sure, but I know in previous years we have. The King brothers are both from Detroit. And like you pointed out, Lance Dixon, who transferred, but we've recruited the area pretty well. I think that's almost part of our quasi footprint in a way. So yeah, very happy with this, and I agree with Corey. I mean, his film, he looks very impressive. So cheers, Mr. Jackson.
What are you drinking there? Dr. Pepper? I didn't see it. I was looking at something. Was that a Dr. Pepper? You drink a lot of Dr. Pepper? How many Dr. Peppers you drink a week? I think you're still muted, by the way.
I'm sorry. I go through two 12-packs of Diet Dr. Pepper a week.
Do you seriously?
Yeah.
You drink 24 Diet Dr. Peppers a week?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep.
You're made for the South. You would love it down here. People would love their Dr. Pepper down here.
Yeah, they sponsor everything. So
I did double check. Nobody from Michigan in the last class. I had to double check that.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I didn't know if we did or not.
Were you overzealous? Was that an overzealous moment?
What?
Hoping somebody was from Michigan. I don't know. I wanted to say the word.
I guess so.
overzealous.
I guess I was a little overzealous in that analysis.
All right. Well, Kari Jackson. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Wosley.
Yeah.
Kenneth Wosley just came out with his top 4. I couldn't even tell you who's in it because I think Penn State's a huge lean here.
So Rutgers, Pitt. No, maybe not Pitt. Hold on.
I Rutgers for sure. I want to say it's West Virginia.
Yes,
Is-
West. Yeah, I think Maryland.
It's roughly right, but I don't think it is. Defensive back Emotep, guy we talked about a lot. I think
Penn State, Michigan,
already
Nebraska, Rutgers.
a ball and for him to Nebraska, Rutgers. Who's the other one?
Michigan.
Penn State, Rutgers, Michigan. Okay. Been to Penn State multiple times. Was just there in January. 3-4 star guy, depending on where you look. I think he's been a Penn State lean for a long time, Sean. And his commitment, I want to say it's at night on Friday. But
according to 24/7 Sports, it just says announcing March 3rd, 2023. Yeah, I think it is a nighttime one though.
I think this is a Penn State commit. I think we're at what, 3 right now for the 2024 class. We're
at
to be
3,
at 4, I think.
Yep.
I think we'll be at 4 before the end of the week. Which, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too. March 4th, I think we'll be at 4 commits.
I still 5 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be on 24/7 Sports YouTube. So there you go.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Yeah. I think this is going to be a commit. We can just talk about him a little bit now. I think 24/7 Sports has him a 3-star guy. Like his height, he's almost 6 foot. He's going to have to put on some weight, but I think this is a solid get. I mean, assuming they get him, but I think this is going to be a solid get for Penn State. In-state guy. He's not going to be. He's not an Elliott Washington. I'm just going to be honest with everybody. But I think this is a guy that can develop really well and be a good piece to the 2024 class. Isn't gonna, I'm be honest, isn't gonna, as far as the ratings go, explode the recruiting ranking. But I think this is a guy who can develop, and I think Penn State is saying something by going out and getting this guy and saying, yes, you can commit, right? Like, we want you now. I think it's a similar, you could probably compare. We think more of you than what everyone else thinks of you. So, and anytime you beat Michigan, whether or not, how much Michigan's really in the play, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or is a good thing too.
Yeah, you're breaking in a little. You're breaking in and out a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, Michigan. I don't know if he was a take necessarily, but I mean, if you look at Michigan's recruiting class last year, they could use some more guys like this. But yeah, I mean, Imhotep. That's a big football school. My high school actually played them in basketball when I was there in the state playoffs, and they only lost by 2 points. But I mean, they are a factory of athletics, and they're. So I would love to get this kid in. I think there's a lot of talent there. Like Corey said, maybe not the best size in the world, but he'll get the job done. And yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that he's going to be joining this class on March 4th.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I still think the 2024 class is pretty premature. Did dead period didn't end today, did it?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you know when it ends? I wasn't sure when it ended.
I do not.
I feel like it might be another month still.
Yeah, and I mean the dead period is I think it's a little overblown because I'm pretty sure because the commit, I mean, the prospects themselves could still text the coaches. Am I right on that?
I don't think so.
I thought they could. I thought they just can't visit and the coaches can't contact them.
Okay, but how does a coach? So a recruit can text them, but they can't text back.
I think that's the rule.
We'll get an answer for you guys in a second, just to confirm that. Non-permissible to make in-person recruiting contact or evaluation on or off the member institution's campus, or to permit official or unofficial visits. So yeah, they can still text, I think.
Okay. Yep.
They just can't visit
Right.
or in person, regardless of where they are.
Right. So if James Franklin sees him in the supermarket, he has to run away fast.
Very fast.
Very 4.3 speed needed.
But yeah, they can still talk over the phone, call, or text via email or direct messages on social media.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew that the dead period wasn't as dire as like not dire, but wasn't as like final as some people make it out to be. But I mean, it is something. And sometimes people do break those rules, by the way. So
yeah, didn't Michigan break those rules before?
Yes, yeah, and Jim Harbaugh was being a martyr about it. And the Michigan fans, it was just a cheeseburger or whatever. It was against the rules. They broke the COVID rules.
Yeah. Okay. All the way until April. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that can't be right. I'm seeing. No, that can't be right. I'll keep looking. Oh, that was basketball. That makes way more sense. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, here we go. Quiet period. I don't know what quiet. It's not dead period anymore. So end of February 28th was dead period. So March 1st to April 14th is considered quiet period, which does not give any description to what quiet period is. So from now till April 14th is quiet period. From April 15th to May 31st is evaluation period, which coaches can take 168 evaluation days, which basically means they can assess a recruit's ability. Do not know exactly what a quiet period means. Are you still muted? Or
Oh, yeah, the quiet period. I mean, that's when the kids come in all ruckus at school, and then I tell them for the last 30 minutes of class they're having a quiet period. I'm here all
I don't see, no, okay. So they say a quiet period, college coaches are prohibited from off-campus, in-person contact with recruits or their families. This means coaches cannot watch athletes compete in person, visit their high school, or talk to them at their home. That's a quiet period.
Sounds a lot like a dead period.
I mean, yeah, that's a dead period. All in-person contact between college coaches and recruits is strictly prohibited, meaning coaches are not able to talk to recruits on campus at their high school, at sports camps, or even when running into them while out. While this is the most restrictive of all the recruiting periods, athletes and coaches are still allowed to communicate via phone, email, social media, and other digital communication channels.
Yeah, so they're still talking to them. I think it might have used to be a little more restrictive because I remember sometimes coaches would be calling kids at midnight, and that's just what kids want. Is a coach, a 50-some-year-old coach going, "Hey, come to my school." But I remember that specifically. It used to happen, so I think they used to be more strict than they are.
That's pretty
like everything
to me.
Yeah, like everything with the NCAA, they went from being way over-regulated to no regulations, and now just nothing matters anymore. So
Quiet period versus dead period. That's funny to me. Yeah. So
yeah, it's some bureaucratic nonsense.
So during a quiet period, you can run into a recruit and talk to them at the grocery store. You cannot do that during the dead period. And as far as I know, that's pretty much all the difference that there is.
And I guarantee you there are coaches that exploit that difference. They're like, hey, I'm going to Walmart 3 hours from my house right now. I guarantee you there are coaches that do that. But
yeah. It would be funny if I ran into you while there.
It would just be a coincidence.
Okay, well that's enough of that. I'm glad we're all on the same page. I'm glad you guys were here for us to discover that. Let's talk John Scott Jr., defensive line coach for Penn State, out of nowhere, departing to go to the Center Daily News. Reported that first, so I wanted to give them their love, although it was behind a paywall originally. I know they got to make their money somehow, but that was upsetting to click and then get paywalled. But I've been behind a paywall for. Anyway,
was it on a message board?
John Scott Jr. is gone. We talked. Oh. I'm sure it was on a message board. And maybe somebody put, maybe that was the original reliable source. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I promise you, if it was our reliable source, it wouldn't have been from a message board.
Nah, I don't think so. Not really where we find things.
No. Sean, we talked about John Scott Jr. and how we thought he'd done a pretty good job. Not like, I don't think anyone was saying he was the best. He wasn't the Larry Johnson senior world, of course. I don't even know if he was on the Coach Spencer level yet, but I thought he was developing extremely well. I don't know if he was a fantastic recruiter, but all in all, I thought John, if I'm going to probably give him a B plus or an A for his job. I don't know if he necessarily recruited defensive tackle as well as we wanted to see. I don't know if he necessarily even developed defensive tackle extremely well, but I think he did a fantastic job with defensive ends. And all in all, I think Penn State will miss him. And we'll talk about where Penn State might go in a second. But thoughts on John Scott Jr., I guess, as we say goodbye to him.
Yeah, he did a nice job. He did. I think him and Coach Chaos are at a similar level. I think he's a tad better of a recruiter than Coach Chaos. The Denied Dennis Sutton recruit, that one really sticks out to me. And I mean, we haven't recruited defensive tackle well. And now, to be fair to these guys, they have developed them, but we haven't recruited that position particularly well since Larry Johnson. And by well, I mean a Devon Still, a Jared Odrick, these really high 4 or 5-star defensive tackles. They just haven't come. PJ Mustipher, maybe notwithstanding, because he was a pretty highly rated guy. But in my mind,
yeah. But John Scott Jr. didn't recruit Mustipher.
No. I didn't say that. I meant going back to Larry Johnson. Like, he's the last big recruit that we got.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's on me.
Defensive right. Yeah. So, yeah. And as far as, I mean, I think what Coach Chaos was, and I think what made him special, is he kind of developed an identity for his defensive line. So he kind of developed a team within a team, but they're still operating as part of a bigger unit. They had their own thing. They were the Wild Dogs, and I think that's just something unique to Coach Chaos. But yeah, I think John Scott Jr. did a nice job. His players got better. A guy like Nick Tarburton sticks out to me. He improved. Chop Robinson had a great year. Yeah, I mean, I think his guys tended to get better the longer they stay, and that's a sign of a good coach. And we're gonna miss him. I think you're gonna start. And it was interesting to me. Excuse me. It was interesting to me that James Franklin, said some really nice things about John Scott Jr. and wished him luck. They even gave him his own graphic, and that usually doesn't happen when coaches leave for the same position group. Like if the guy gets promoted to a coordinator, they get a head coaching job. Sometimes that happens, but Penn State seems to be really behind John Scott Jr. in this, and that tells me that he probably just wanted to be a pro coach. And there's probably no hard feelings between anybody. He was probably very transparent with James Franklin that, and I'm reading between the lines a little bit, that, if I get a pro job that comes along, if it's a good opportunity for me, I'm going to take it. So we wish him the best of luck, and I think he has a chance to do really well there. The Detroit Lions, they're a sneaky team next year. And the way things look, Jalen Carter might follow them. So he could have somebody very interesting to develop. And develop not only as a player, but probably as a person as well.
What was I going to say? I'm curious because I'm overly enthusiastic recruiter. And so I'm just wondering if it was like I have a chance to go to the NFL and potentially, honestly, like work less and still get to do the stuff that I love. And I think that might just be the truth to it. I think in a lot of ways he's different from Coach Chaos in that sense. I think Coach Chaos wanted to always come back to college football, and he has. I don't know if John Scott Jr. returns to college football. This seems to be where he wants to be. So maybe he'll have to if he wants to be a defensive coordinator or to progress his career or something like that. But I think you could see John Scott Jr. being in the NFL for a very long time. So, yeah, let's move on to what is to come of the defensive line position, because spring practice is just around the corner. I think we're just a little bit more than a week away, and it seems pretty late in the cycle to be going to get some big time guy. Obviously, the guy from Texas A&M is always going to come up. You could maybe go get Naeem Wortman if you wanted to. I know the one defensive line coach from Duke has come up a couple times. He used to coach Manny Diaz. Or probably what I think is going to happen, and I think most people agree, they could promote who we just talked about a couple episodes ago, Deion Barnes, who was a GA. Then they gave him a bunch of other different names because he can no longer be a GA. He's an analyst, blah, 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 blah. But basically, he has been fulfilling the defensive line coach responsibility since John Scott Jr. left. He was the one tweeting out the competitor of the workout, etc. Deion Barnes obviously played football at Penn State. He's already been pivotal in getting back into the Philly area when it comes to recruiting. Sean, is this just a simple, like, don't overcomplicate it, just make the right decision and move on with it?
That's a good question. No, I don't think so. I think you could take your time and, look around. And Deion Barnes is going to get an interview. He's going to get a shot at the job for sure, and he deserves one. But if they want to look around, they want to see what's out there, if there's somebody else available, yeah. I mean, I think your job, if you're James Franklin as the CEO of the football organization, is to try to bring in whoever you can to best improve your team. And let's say, for the sake of argument, Elijah Robinson wants to come home. Do I think he's going to come home? No, not for the defensive line job, at least. But you could try. And a man could dream. So, yeah, I think you keep your options open. If there's somebody who Franklin has in mind, yeah, you talk to them. However, I think the guy who makes the most sense from a logistics aspect, from a, I don't want to say a common sense aspect, but that's kind of what it is Deion Barnes. And, GA, really highly thought of. And he'd be joining a veteran group on the defensive side of the ball, a an experienced group of coaches. Terry Smith's been a coach a long time. Manny Diaz, same thing. Stacey Collins, who helps out with the linebackers, same thing. Poindexter. So it's not like he's joining a bunch of young guys over there. And I think they're going to show him the ropes. I think you could do something like bring in a guy like Frank Leonard, who helped Phil Troutwine, I think, more in more ways than we could know. Just how to become a coach, how to get better, and just being a different voice. So I think bringing in an experienced analyst would be key for Deion Barnes. And if that happens, I have no problem with it because I do think highly of his recruiting abilities, and he has the connection to Philly, which, as we know, you have to recruit well in order to succeed at Penn State.
Yeah, and he played in the NFL too. So, I mean, there's a lot going for him. I think, honestly, Deion Barnes could be a force in the recruiting world. And it's not like he's not going to get more and more experience every single year you let him be the defensive line coach. So, it's not like he wasn't, he was taught by some really good defensive line coaches as well. So, it's not like he's isn't going to come in and not know what drills to run or anything like that. So,
you want to hear Deion Barnes' rumor story?
Yeah, we love those.
So when Deion Barnes was deciding whether or not to go to the NFL, it was James Franklin's first year at Penn State. And Deion Barnes was seen as a guy who wasn't ready to go to the NFL by most people. He had a good sophomore year or redshirt freshman year, and then like a really good one. And then he kind of dropped off a little bit his second year of getting a lot of time. And then he declared for the draft. A lot of people were like, oh, that was weird. The rumor is Larry Johnson Sr. pushed him to go. Now, you might be thinking Larry Johnson Sr. never coached with James Franklin. You'd be right. He was at Ohio State, and what people say is Larry Johnson convinced him to go to the NFL. I don't know if that's true or not, but just a little fun rumor for you. I don't know if that's a fact.
That is not coming from a reliable source?
No.
These
are actually shirts. From message boards.
We should sell shirts, maybe shorts. But we should. Why can I not say that? Sell shirts. We should sell. Yeah, that's a should is what throws me off. Should sell shirts. Say that 5 times fast.
We should sell shirts. Yeah, it's a tongue twister.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. We should sell shirts. I don't know why it's tripping me up. But anyway, I think they got to give it to Deion Barnes. Maybe that's just too simple. I just think that's. If not, are they going to be able to retain Deion Barnes?
No.
That's a thing.
I wouldn't come back if I were him.
Yeah, this would be my okay, maybe not this year because the cycle's already kind of almost over, but this would be my last year, right? I'd be like, okay, well. So.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be nuts to come back if you're him.
Especially when you look around, like, Naeem Wortman-White, technically younger than Deion Barnes. He's already now a defensive line coach at Akron. Deion Barnes isn't even a defensive line coach, which I know he's been at Penn State and doing a lot of things. But if he doesn't get the defensive line coach at Penn State, he's probably going to end up getting the defensive line coach at a place like an Akron maybe. And it's like, he probably deserves more than that at this point. No knock on Naeem Wortman-White, but Deion Barnes has kind of put in the work for a while. I mean, it was a high school coach for a while too, but I just feel like maybe Barnes deserves it. But what do I know?
Yeah, and I mean, look, Naeem put in the work too. He was the defensive line coach at New Hampshire and everything.
Yeah, I understand he's younger. Yeah.
Yeah, he is younger. And look, I would not hire Naeem Wortman-White, and I love Naeem, I do, over Deion Barnes. I just wouldn't do it because he doesn't have the recruiting connections. He was at New Hampshire. He wasn't at, being defensive line coach at New Hampshire. I mean, yes, you get your own room to run and everything, but it's not as all encompassing as being a GA and a GA who's really hands on. I don't think it gives you as much experience that you need to be a defensive line coach in the Big Ten, like being a GA at Penn State is. I mean, and look, sometimes it really works. Like Joe Brady was a GA, so life moves quick in the coaching world. God, it feels like I was just watching Tommy Reese play football, and now he's the offensive coordinator in Alabama.
It's true. I'll be curious how that works out, by the way. 2 minutes until the Penn State basketball game starts, Sean. You think Penn State's able to win at Northwestern?
No.
No?
No. I don't. But, I mean, they did just lose to Maryland, so I guess you never know. And Maryland is a bad road team, and we do got them on Senior Day Sunday. So is there hope? Yes, but we're Penn State basketball. We're a factory of sadness. We'll find some way to screw it up.
Well, on that beautiful note, maybe we can get the people out of here at a decent time. Any other final thoughts before we go into the Penn State defensive backdraft?
I don't think so. Do you have a question for me? If you don't, that's okay.
Do you think Drew Aller is taking 100% of the reps for the first spring practice?
Well, let me put it this way. I want everybody who has the Twitter right now to go check Mike Yursich's Twitter. Everybody right now. So if you're driving, do it when you stop driving. Everybody go look. All right, if you're there, look at who his quarterbacks of the day were. Everybody look. I think it was Jackson Smolik yesterday. Bo Prabul, I think, won it every day last week. Who is it being named quarterback of the day for like the last 2 weeks? Who is it? Okay, you want to say the walk-on guys? Okay. Drew Aller, where is he? Does he suck? Is he getting passed over? Is Bo Prabul the future at Penn State? I mean, maybe he is, but is he the future as in the 2023 quarterback at Penn State? Is Drew Aller an afterthought? What's going on? I don't know. You guys tell me. Anyway, yeah. Does he take 100% of the snaps? Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, because I don't think so. While we have a true reliable source, this is true, that told us that that Drew Aller last week, I don't know if he still is, but last week was seen in a boot on campus, and he was on a scooter. That's what we were told from a reliable source. We did not get it from a message board. We do not take things from behind paywalls and put them out on Twitter. We don't just me and Corey are sitting there going, let's stir the pot and just tell people that Drew Aller's in a boot. That's not what we do. We heard it from somebody we both know, and we both trust. But that's what happened. We do not know the severity of anything. And my hunch is it's not that serious of an injury, but they were taking precautions.
Yeah, that's my hunch too.
Yes, I do. I think you'll see Drew Aller in spring practice, and I think you'll see him at the spring game. But and maybe it's an amazing coincidence that he hasn't been player of the day in 2 weeks. Maybe it is. Maybe it is an amazing coincidence. But
what else does that say then?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe he sucks. I don't know, guys, but I don't think he does. And I do think he won. I think he won competitor of the day once. So he's won it, but he just hasn't won it in a couple weeks.
Not nearly as much as Bo Prabula has won it.
Yeah, I mean, Bo looks like the guy, and I don't know, maybe he is, but I don't know, the way people, Drew Aller has, what, a 50-1 shot to win the Heisman. So he's pretty well thought of. But yeah, those are
the winter workout stuff to me, right, is an opportunity to highlight the people that are working hard. And you can say, oh, they're just trying to like keep people happy. but look who's won it. And it's been some of like the senior, like Olu Fashanu won it. Caden Wallace has won it 3 times now. Jerry Cross won it multiple times. Curtis Jacobs has won it multiple times. I mean, there are guys that really don't have anything to prove that have gone out and won it. And to me, that says something. So I think the best case is your captains, your leaders are the ones winning those, because then it tells you that they were the ones setting the example. So that's always good to me. Tony Rojas has been on there quite a bit and has been impressive. I think your boy at safety, I can never remember his name, Kevin Winston Jr. has won it a couple times, I think. Someone else early in Donko won it once, but there's another guy I thought has won it a couple times that was an early enrollee, and I'm not sure who.
Rojas, Donka, Sloffer.
Sloffer's won it?
Yeah.
Okay. That wasn't who I was thinking of, but I believe you. But I can't think of anyone else. I think that's all I got. Anyway, we don't have to worry about winter workouts.
Oh, Smolleck's an early enrollee.
Yeah, that wasn't also who I was thinking of, but yeah, Smolik has won it. I don't think Javen Williams or Burkmeyer have won it. I don't think.
I haven't seen them win it either. But I mean, that's okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they don't win it. And I agree with you. Like, when an older guy wins it, that tells me that there's a bit of a fire lit under his ass, which is good. And
especially for Caden Wallace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know if Caden Wallace would be back or not. And if he's killing it at winter workouts, that means he really wants to play. I mean, he hasn't conceded his tackle spot to Drew Shelton. That's good for him. I mean, whoever the best man is. And this is what we want, right? We want good competition between 2 good players. That means you're a good team. And that means you have a really solid unit. And that's something we haven't had in a while. We're not picking between the worst or the best of 2 bad options.
Right.
Like we were so accustomed to for years and years in the offensive line room.
Yeah. No, I think that's true throughout the offensive line. Hunter Norzad's a name that has been really quiet, which I think was kind of interesting to me. Be interesting to see what kind of spring he has, because I think it's an important spring for him. Landon Tangwa is coming back from injury, but he was on a 24/7 podcast a month ago, and it looked like he was going to be hopefully ready to participate in the spring practice. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, and he'll probably be taking his time coming back.
Yeah. But remember, Sean, last year they didn't even have they had a bunch of people hurt last spring. So it'll be an interesting spring as far as do they have all the depth they possibly want now, which I think they will, but it'll be interesting to see for sure. Okay. Defensive back draft time?
Let's do it up.
Okay. I'm nervous about this, to be honest with you. I think it was because it got postponed a week. It made me like, oh Lord, I almost dropped my phone. It made me like think twice about it all week, and I was like, I don't even know if I like any of these guys. Like I
had all my notes ready for last week, and then I was like, oh well, just got them for next week now.
Yeah. Heads or tails? Who did heads or tails last? I think I called it, didn't I?
I think you did. All right, I'll call it in the air.
Can you see it? Nope.
No, it kind of gets blocked on the green screen.
Oh, how about in front of me?
Okay.
What does that say?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did you call it yet?
No, I didn't call it yet.
Okay, call it. Now I'm flipping again. All right.
Tails. It's heads.
I think it's a heads. Okay.
I kind of think the number 1 spot is really, really hard.
Yeah. Okay, Penn State. Let me start over. I just butchered that. Penn State defensive back draft. Sean lost the coin toss. I have the first pick. I think it's going to be interesting why I took this person first, but I don't care. I'll explain it why in a second. With my first pick in the Penn State defensive back draft, I'm taking cornerback Alan Zamitis, 2002 to 2000. One of the best, if not the best, corners in Penn State history with the stats to back it up. There's a lot of other corners out there that maybe you could argue have better skill, but he has the stats to really show it. Three captain. He had 3 touchdowns, I believe, in his career. 12 interceptions in his career, 6 of them in the 2005 season. And if that's not enough, Sean, he's a recruiting coordinator for Penn State right now. He was able to score touchdowns, which I think Penn State did a lot of great things over the years, obviously defensively, like forever, but didn't necessarily always have guys that were putting points on the board for the defense. And, well, Zamitis was able to do that more than a lot of other people. So part of this, Sean, to me, is I think I can get value at safety in later picks. And although there are some good corners, I think I feel good about getting a second round safety and taking my corner first. So that is why I'm going with the big AZ with my first pick.
Very interesting. I mean,
was that not your first pick?
No, I had Zamitis on my list, but not first. And honestly, like the first pick is very difficult because I feel like you could go a bunch of different ways. Like receiver, I knew it was either going to be, I knew I was picking Bobby Ingram. I knew he was going to be one. I had a feeling Corey was going to pick him. Quarterback, I knew Cal Collins was going one. Defensive line was a little tough, and this one's tough. I'm going to go with Mark Robinson. So Mark Robinson, 1982 consensus All-American. He had 70 career tackles in the national championship game against Georgia. This was for our first one in 82. He had 2 interceptions. And, just a key part to that 82 defense. And he at the 81 defense, and, a lot of Penn State old heads will say the 81 team is actually better than the 82 team. He was a key player on that one, too. So I'm going to go with Mark Robinson with my first pick.
I'm just writing these down here, so we got them here. I had him high on my list, but I did not have him. I actually didn't have Zamitis number 1 when I first did the research, by the way, but I just thought about it over and over, and I was like, I like, that's a perfect example, right? Like, I like Mark Robinson. I was going to probably take him early in this draft, but I think there's other guys at that position where I feel really good about getting.
I just want to say something about Alan Zamitis. That 05 Michigan game, that last play. Why didn't we just have him go man-to-man on Mario Manningham?
Is that why you didn't want to take him with the first pick, Sean?
No, because it wasn't his fault. He should have been. They went in a zone, and he just ran. Manningham just runs right in front of him. I think Calvin Lowry.
This next pick's hard for me because there's 2 guys. I didn't think both were going to be here for me, to be honest with you. With my second pick, the 3rd pick overall. And I'm going to go old head on you, Sean. I'm taking safety Neil Smith, 1966 to 1969. 19 career interceptions, which is the record. I don't know how many fumbles he has recovered, but I'm guessing he is also the leader in Penn State history for just turnovers overall because he has 19 of them are interceptions. He has 10 in one single season in 1969. He was an All-American that year. If that wasn't enough, he was also a walk-on back when he first started. 8 interceptions in 1968. He also blocked a punt in the Orange Bowl, if that wasn't enough. So Neil Smith, again, Penn State was also really good in 69 as well. But again, I just don't – it's hard for me because I didn't obviously get to watch him live. But 19 interceptions in that time period, I just feel like is absurd, like insane. I mean, no one was throwing the ball 40 times a game, and yet this guy was coming up with 19 career interceptions. So I just got to take volume here, Sean, with Neil Smith.
Yeah, that's a good pick. We had a very nice season in 1969. And Neil Smith was a big part of the reason. And I mean, 19 career interceptions, I mean, that's an absurd number. And there are two guys tied with the second most amount of interceptions. And I'm going to take one of them with my next pick. And that is why I am going to take Darren Perry with my next pick. He was a 1991 All-American. Again, 15 career interceptions, had 3 pick sixes, which is pretty impressive because like Zemaitis, who was an awesome player, I only remember him, and I could be wrong on this, I only remember him having 1 pick six, and it was the 0-3 Ohio State game, which still grinds my gears because that was a game that the officiating was horrible in, and we could have won that night. But anyway, Darren Perry, terrific player, probably one of the best safeties ever at Penn State. In my opinion, he was the second greatest safety, well, maybe Neil Smith, second or third greatest safety ever at Penn State. And also, yeah, two pick sixes in a senior season. So going Darren Perry with my next pick.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. He had 2 fumble returns for touchdowns. Zemaitis did. 1 pick six.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And I just want to say on Darren Perry, if you didn't take Perry, I think I would have won that draft because I was taking him next. And I would have been like, if I got Zemaitis, Smith, and Perry, I think it would have been over. So I think that was, I had Darren Perry 3 originally when I did this. So I think you got great value there with the 4th pick. Yeah, I think he was, if I was going to get Perry, I was giddy. I was like, please let him fall because then it's a wrap. So, no, I think that was a solid pick right there. When I asked some old heads about, who I should be taking, Darren Perry's name was pretty much brought up immediately. So, I think that was a solid pick there. A pick you got to make too. Yep. This is where it starts getting really tough. I'm going to go back to what was saying about the depth at the safety position because I'm going to take another one here with Brian Scott, 2000, 2002, 202 tackles, 5 interceptions, big time NFL guy. Probably, I don't necessarily take guys because of their NFL longevity, but I think Scott is a guy who maybe played his best football in the NFL. And that's not a knock to him because, he was still a 2nd round pick, played 48 games at Penn State. I don't want to say he had like a overarchingly impressive year or career, but it was, and I guess I should have asked you this beforehand. We weren't considering him a linebacker, were we? Because I know he played a little. He
was a safety.
Okay. He played in a box sometimes, but I just wanted to make sure of that because I considered him a safety, but I guess some people might argue. You could even argue sometimes Michael Zordich is sometimes playing in that linebacker role a little bit too, but played 10 seasons in the NFL, and I did not realize this, but he ran a 4.3 4.40 in his combine, which did not realize that he was that quick. Which 4.3 4.40 in the 2000s, I feel like. Nowadays that's crazy fast. I feel like back then, I feel like I would have remembered, or at least that would have been brought up more when it was up, talked about him. But I did not know that until I looked it up. So, and that wasn't, and I said that a bunch today, but if that wasn't enough, he also won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in 2012. So, good guy all around, and just I think a Penn State safety when it's also a poster child for a Penn State safety. Lots of tackles, got some interceptions, but a tackling machine in a Penn State defense.
Yeah, Brian Scott was he was one of the guys when I was younger, like really young, that I remember, and it just seemed like every time he was around the ball, something good happened. And then, like you said, he was even better as a pro, and he played a long, long time in the NFL. So I like the pick. I do think you could have gotten him later, though.
Okay, good to know.
So with my next pick, I'm taking Mike Zordich, who you just referred to.
I had
Mike
them
Zordich,
5 and 6. I had them 5 and 6.
Yep, and Mike Zordich, not the Mike Zordich that our younger fans know as kid. That's Mike Zordich's son. He played at Penn State from 82 to 85, so he was on 2 really, really good football teams. One of them won the national championship, and then in 85 he lost in the Orange Bowl. But that's really when he had his best season as a senior. He was an All-American, 201 career tackles at Penn State, and he was another guy that you saw him. I mean, he was a great player with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he played quite a while with them as well. So I am gonna go with Mike Zordich, and he was actually referenced, I think, in our last draft as having a pick 6 that day of the Maryland game in '85, where I believe it was Boomer Esiason he picked off and took it back for a touchdown. So, gonna go with Mike Zordich. I think that's decent value there.
Yeah, I think that's good value.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I had him 6 and you took him 6th, so appropriate value for me.
Right.
But no, I think I was really hard. Like, how do you compare a Michael Zordich from the 80s to a Brian Scott of the 2000s? Like, you could honestly say that they're relatively the same guy. I mean, it's hard to compare across errors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very similar.
You could just say, I guess, the national championship. And Zordich played a decent amount, I think, as a freshman. Zordich has a national championship, and Brian Scott doesn't. So I guess, you could say maybe that's the difference. I guess this is how I thought the draft was going to go. Looking at my list of guys, I'm like, man, there are going to be guys that are left off. I mean, that I really wanted to include, and I don't think that's going to happen. So, again, I just don't think there's a bunch of cornerbacks that are overly impressive on my list. And I think this guy needs to be included, and I'm really happy to get him with my 4th pick, and that's Kim Herring, 1993 to 1996. 13 interceptions, which is 4th best all time in Penn State school history. He had 7 interceptions in 1996. Probably in that time period, the most recognizable defensive back, I would argue. Not that defense, those defenses weren't known, but for once in Penn State's history, the offense was what everyone was talking about. Kim Herring was kind of the guy, when I asked people that sort of time period, he was the guy that was brought up every single time. So, again, cornerback, not a bunch of game changers, I think, on my list is at the cornerback position, but to get Alan Zamitis and Kim Herring, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I like that corner duo, and I have a list full of safeties right now.
That's kind of why I was like that. That's exactly why I took Zamitis maybe a pick early.
Yep.
Get him on the board. I don't know. I know,
but
that's why people like that see our like overall graphics at the end that don't listen to the full thing. We do this any way we want to do it, right? Like, I don't want to take just 5 safeties and be done with it. I don't know. The same reason that when we did defensive line, like I didn't go out of my way to take 5 defensive ends. You could have. I wouldn't have blamed you, but I want some well-roundedness in mine.
I understand that, and I have to get a little more well-rounded too. And I'm gonna do that right now, and I'm gonna pick a recent friend, Joey Porter Jr.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
So yes, I do believe Joey Porter Jr. is one of the 10 defensive backs ever at Penn State. And does he have the gaudy stats? He does not. But I will say, and I think the one thing you could really, especially his whole career at Penn State, is maybe he could have better ball skills, and that's fair. But I think his ball skills were fine enough. I mean, watch the Purdue game. Does he have an interception in that game? No, as a matter of fact, he drops it. So I guess that goes against my point a little bit. But he's very good against the pass. Physical guy. I don't think we've had maybe anybody as athletically gifted as Joey Porter Jr. in the defensive backfield, and that's a big reason why he's going to be picked in the first round this year. At least everybody's expecting that. If you threw to his side, you really had a feeling. If a team was throwing to his side, you had a feeling it was going to be incomplete. And then after the Purdue game, teams stopped throwing toward him, and it was just he was fun to watch. Even though, like I said, he didn't create a lot of turnovers, and that's the one thing people are going to hold against him. But he's somebody that I saw. And he passed the eye test with flying colors for me. So I'm going JPJ.
You're really gonna do this to me. To full transparency, I had Joey Porter Jr. 9th. So I was planning on taking him.
Yep. I had him late in the first round too. Yep.
And I did not think we were going to get to this point with who I still have on my board. I got 4 guys I really could take with my final pick, which is just excruciating. Yep. We're already at that point. I really thought the guy I'm really battling with was going to be gone. I didn't think it was going to be. And so it's kind of thrown me a wrench to me because I'm like, I really wanted to take this other guy because I really like him. But all in all, I damn. I try to do a little phone a friend here. I texted my Gramps to see if he could break the decision for me. Regardless of what he says, I think I've made my decision. Tough one. Damn it. I don't think I'm going to. He just asked me because I only gave him the last name. I think he had a brain fart. All right, this one I'm gonna stick to my order because I'm gonna take this guy. I'm 7th on mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and take him, and I'm gonna go ahead and take him. So my final pick, I'm gonna take Adrian. 2011 to 2014, 148 tackles, 7 interceptions, still playing in the NFL. Sean, the reason I'm really gonna take him is his versatility. Played at all 4 positions at Penn State, when really Penn State did not have very good defensive backs. They needed him to pretty much play corner sometimes, play safety sometimes, play slot, nickel, dime. He could do it all in a time where he was really the best corner that they had, and they needed his versatility. He had good ball skills, and he also could hit like a Mack truck. Just all in all, probably the most well-rounded guys are the ones I have on the list as far as coming up and tackling as well as playing the ball. And again, he was durable. He played a lot of football for Penn State for 4 years. And there's 2 guys. There's three other guys that come to mind that I really wanted to take, but the versatility, and also we know what he's done in the NFL compared to maybe some guys that I might be thinking about that we haven't seen a bunch in the NFL yet. Is why I'm going to go with Adrian Amos. But it kills me because I wanted to take a couple other guys.
Yeah, I considered Amos. He wasn't on my list, though. He was in honorable mentions. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I liked Amos a lot. I still like him, but there are a few other guys that stick out to me. And I'm like you, I still got a
Big
few
one,
guys
baby.
left. I have 1, 2, 3 more guys left that I could pick. All right.
You didn't think I was going to be taking Amos? Who do you think I was going with there?
I thought you were gonna go with the guy I'm about to take, or Justin King, or Ray Isom, but you did not. So
I thought Ray Isom was already going to be gone by now, to be honest with you.
yeah, and I'm not taking Ray Isom because I think there's somebody who sticks out a little more to me, and that's Pete Harris. So Pete Harris was Franco Harris's brother, and also an exceptional college football player. He was an All-American at Penn State in 1978. Didn't play the 79 season, and then in 80 he also played. In 78 he led the country with 10 interceptions. So I needed more interceptions in the back four there, with JPJ being the lockdown corner. So Pete Harris played a lot of safety at Penn State, but I think I could stick somebody over at that corner spot. So I'm gonna take Pete Harris with my last pick. His first name was Piero. Fun fact for him.
That fun fact. I had Pete Harris on my list too. We're on. I mean, this is probably the hardest list, actually. I mean, we haven't done running backs yet, and we haven't done linebackers, but so far this has been the hardest list because there are really the final, I would say 8 to 20. Honestly, you could argue.
Yep.
Okay, I'll just say the guys that I was considering taking before Adrian Amos was I considering taking Jair Brown. Seriously, like strictly because of the turnovers.
Oh.
I had him high and ended up was part of 16 turnovers in his career in just 2 seasons. So I had him high on the list. I mean, if he was here for 4 years, you could argue he was going to break Neil Smith's record for all that. So I had him high on my list, didn't pull the trigger, which after your reaction, I feel like I made the right decision. I had Brisker on that list for some similar reasons. And also, I think I had this guy 11, Anthony Scarrato. Durable guy, 05 to 08. I did not realize he played in 1,000 snaps in the 2006 season. Punt return, safety. 1,001 snaps, ends up with 12 interceptions over his career. I had him on that list as well. And then a couple other guys. David Macklin was a corner that if Kim Herring was gone, I was probably going to take Macklin at that same pick because I wanted another corner. I had you mentioned Isom, Paul Langford, another corner I was considering. Marcus Allen, only safety on the top 10 tackling list with all a bunch of linebackers. He had 300 tackles in his career. So he was the only safety to make that list. I thought, okay, maybe. Grant Haley for just longevity plus being a part of 2 massive plays in 2016. And honestly, a guy that maybe slept on a little bit. I wouldn't put him top 10. I probably won't even put him top 15. But I think Jordan Lucas was probably a top 20 defensive back at Penn State. As far as true skill goes, I think Jordan Lucas was actually a pretty good corner for Penn State.
He was. He was on the Dolphins for a little while too, and he won a Super Bowl ring. So he stayed with the Chiefs. He stayed in the NFL longer than people realize because he kind of made a living on special teams. So the guys that I didn't pick but were honorable mentions and that were on my list, Justin King, two-time All Big Ten. Brisker, yeah, he's up there. Isom, and then honorable mention, Marcus Allen. I think Mr. Chico Hendricks has to get an honorable mention. Duffy Cobbs, huge part of that 86 defense. Same thing, like you said with Isom. Brian Scott is on my honorable mention list. And then I got somebody who maybe people say is premature. I think Kalen King's already one of the best 20 defensive backs ever at Penn State. Like, we said all year,
Wow.
he's going to end up being better than Joey Porter Jr., and I believe that. Like, I could see him after next season, like, we're sitting here, we're like, he's a top 5 defensive back ever at Penn State. I think he's that good. I can't put him on the list yet. He just doesn't have the credentials that these other guys have. But he makes my honorable mention list already, and he's currently playing. And I think he is the first one, the first current player to make an honorable mention list. So shout out to Kalen King.
Yeah, people aren't gonna like that one. I mean, I agree with you, but people aren't gonna like it. Because I was talking to people and they wouldn't even consider Jair Brown because it was too soon, and Brisker was still too soon.
No, I mean so was Saquon too soon after 2017? No. No,
yeah.
It's not like judging a president where you have to wait 3 years. I mean, it's not.
I think sometimes
people.
I think some people actually do think it's like that.
We don't need to be away from the moment for. No, if you're watching the guy and saying this guy's one of the best whatever I've ever seen at Penn State, at the moment. Now you have to take time and think about it. Maybe after the game, maybe take a few days to really think about it. But if you think it, you think it, and that's what I think with Kalen King.
Derek Bokna was on my list too. He was also played corner and safety. I'm trying to think. I said, what about Amani Orarie?
The thing with Amani was, he could always pick the ball off, but I felt like he was only started 1 year. Did he only start 1 year?
No, was his last year 2018?
Yeah. He played a lot, going into that, and he could always pick the ball off.
2017, who were the corners?
I think it was still Campbell and Haley, right?
Campbell for sure. Was Haley still
Haley
there?
Was that? Yeah, I
think he was. Yeah, I think you're right.
They were drafted together, but
so they still had. So they had Grant Haley, they had Campbell, they had Reed, and they had Orarie all in that 2017 scene. Man, they really did. Yeah. They really should have won more than they did in 2017. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm happy. I say this a lot. I'm happy we didn't have a show in 2017 because I probably would have said some things that I might later regret.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, when you think about it like that.
And I will still say they missed a lot of opportunities. I'll still say that, but
I think that's going to be an interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting draft for people to judge because I really like. I think that what's going to separate if people like mine more than yours is going to really come down to Jr. Honestly, I think that's going to be the difference. Like if you judge Joey Porter Jr. for being the first Penn State defense drafted in the first round, and that's what you care about as far as like him actually skill wise being the best, I would say you have a pretty good argument. But if people come and say, well, he didn't really produce that much statistically, and it's and it's too early to judge on that, I think people are going to go with me. So I think that's going to be I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to be the kind of the separator if you fall on either side of that argument.
Yeah. I mean, I think we both kind of went at it from different approaches, but that's part of the fun of it. And Corey and I really don't compare anything before
not at all.
We don't compare anything before we do it. Sometimes we'll text and be like, "This is really hard," but that'll be
we're talking about the defensive back draft, by the way. We should probably clarify that.
And I've already texted Corey because I did a little bit of looking ahead into the linebackers and linebackers. Woo, if you think we left off some names before, there are going to be some names we're going to have to leave off that linebacker list that, man, oh
We
man.
weren't as recent bias as I thought, right? I guess if I would have put Brown over Adrian Amos, I think maybe you could argue that. But I honestly, when I first started, before I really did my research, I really thought like Amos was going to be in there. I thought Brisker could honestly fit in there. I thought Scarrato was going to get in there. I thought Brown was going to get in there. I thought Joey Porter Jr. was going to get in there. And honestly, you could argue maybe those guys talent-wise were better than some of those other guys, right? Like, I don't know how you judge a Neil Smith versus Jair Brown, but I don't know. But
I want to include Calvin Lowry as an honorable mention too.
Solid.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, he was very, very good. And if people want to go back and watch him, really good player. Good punt returner too.
Hopefully he's a good analyst.
I hope so.
Oh, I didn't realize this. This is actually just came in, I guess, only 2 minutes ago, so I didn't miss by that much. Bonus question. Yeah, I guess the combine is this week. We talked about the combine, Christoph, I guess, an episode ago.
It would have been 2 episodes.
2 episodes ago
last week, but yeah.
Yes. We talked about it a little bit then, but Christoph asked, who do you think will perform best at the combine from Penn State? Just straight up, who would perform the best? I really don't know how measurably Joey Porter Jr. doesn't crush it. Just straight up. I think I'm optimistic about a lot of guys, but I mean, just measurables. I mean, they're going to do his arms, and people are going to flip out about his arm length. I promise you that. It's going to be like, oh, his arms. Like, that's what they're going to do. Like, and they love talking about arm length and hand size. Like, it gets them all giddy. So from that, I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to crush it. Specifically, though, because people like to know about, like, running fast. I think Brenton Strange is going to have a good combine. I keep coming back to him. I really do. I think he's going to run a lot better. And if he does run well, he's going to make a lot of money because he's proved he can block. Maybe Miami will pick him up.
They very well might, because I think he could fit into the Dolphins' offense pretty well. He's kind of the type of guy they're looking for.
You think Parker Washington's going to run well? I saw people taking Parker Washington before Jair Brown in mock draft.
Yeah, I mean, what do you consider well for? Do I think he could run the 4.4s? I do.
You think he runs 4.4?
I think he can run the high 4.4s. Yeah, but
I think he has to run sub 4.5.
I mean, I think so. If people are, I gotta be honest. I don't think Parker Washington's a top 2 round pick. I never thought that at Penn State, and I liked him at Penn State. But these people that have him going in the top 2 rounds, I'm like, do we watch the same guy? Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I don't
all
think
year.
Sometimes they realize like
he
that's
played
only
like a 1st round pick against Ohio State, but that was really it.
I think so this year there's one less draft pick, right? So in 2 rounds there's only 63 picks, right?
Right, because of the idiot known as Stephen Ross. Yes, correct. What a clown Dolphins owner is.
I mean, I don't think he's a top 63 guy. I just don't.
I don't either. And I don't think Stephen Ross should be owning anything except.
Hey, real quick about that. Are they gonna let Tua walk? Is that what it's looking like?
No, I think that's all BS. I think they're gonna pick up Tua's 5th-year option and roll with them next year. I think it makes the most sense, to be honest with you. And the injuries drive me nuts with Tua, but I mean, are we gonna bring in Derek Carr? I mean,
the Dolphins not have a pick at all in the 1st round.
No, because Stephen Ross.
I didn't know if they
like
traded. I didn't know if they traded.
Tanking with the coach.
I didn't know if they maybe traded in with a different pick or try to get a pick through. Okay.
No. We had a pick from San Francisco, but that was part of the Tyreek Hill trade. So that's how we were able to secure Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Stephen Ross.
Sean Clifford might fall to the Dolphins.
Yeah. Great. Nah, I'm kidding around. Actually, I could see him going to the Dolphins because I could see him doing well in an offense like that, and even just running scout team. I think it could be valuable having a guy like him.
Do you want to mention anyone else performing best at the combine?
I agree with you. I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to do the best. Brenton Strange to me has the most to prove. Him and Parker Washington have the most to prove. PJ Mustafer from a looks perspective, he looked great today. Now he didn't. Yeah, and I think that's a good look for him to slim down a little bit. Yeah, but he doesn't look any less strong, which is important. And it's the best I've seen him look. So I could see him doing really well, especially lifting. And, I could see him doing well on the bench. Don't know if he'll run or not. I don't really think it's that important for a defensive tackle to run well. To be
the cone and the cone.
Yeah, the cone and the short shuttle thing. That's important. But I remember Kevin Givens did really, really well one of those cone drills at the combine. Kevin Givens was kind of a workout warrior. And I don't mean that I don't mean that derisively, because he was a great player. He was a great player at Penn State too. But I had a feeling when he went to the combine, I was like, a team is gonna pick up on him because he's flying under the radar, but a team's gonna really like him, and he's been with the Niners ever since. So, it would be nice to see PJ have a good combine. So who's all there? Who's all there again? Cliff's not there and Tarburton's not there, but pretty much everybody else is, right?
Yeah, you got Brown, Joey Porter Jr., Mustafer, Brenton Strange, Tinsley, Washington. Who am I forgetting? Or is that everybody? No, there's one more. Oh, is Scruggs there?
Yeah, Drew Scruggs is there. Yeah.
Be interesting what Drew Scruggs does, because athletically, right? I don't know. I don't really have no idea what to expect. I'm sure he's going to do fine benching, but is he going to do exceptional? I don't know. I have no idea what to expect from him. So that could be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And and Tinsley will be interesting. How's he going to run? If he can run, I mean, how fast do you think
is Parker Washington going to run?
Well, that's the whole other thing. Some guys decide, I'm good.
And injury-wise, is he healthy enough?
Oh, that's a good point. I actually forgot he was hurt.
My buddy Donnie messaged me and asked me that, so I don't know.
I think it was a lower body injury, so he might not. And then Tinsley,
I think Tinsley's going to run fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's a little faster than you think he is.
I do too.
Yeah, I think he's a little faster than people give him credit for. We just didn't really use him that way. We didn't really use him to stretch the field. So, yeah.
Sean, we almost kept this to an hour.
Almost. This is a short episode for us.
As we climb to the $1:39 mark. Yeah.
Yeah, this is short.
Good. We deserved a shorter one.
We did. Yeah, we put in the work last week.
But any final thoughts from you?
No. I'll be watching the combine this weekend, see how our guys do. And
does it start tomorrow? Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
I think that's what it is. Yeah, and they go in different position groups. So
right.
In case you guys didn't know that, and spring practice starts in 2 weeks. So we'll be coming up on that. Me and Corey actually had no idea when spring practice started.
No idea.
Yesterday. So University of Michigan started this week, so it could start I mean, because teams have earlier spring games. Like some teams are in the beginning of April, some are at the very end. And I think we're right. When's our spring game again? April 20 something, I believe, or April. Oh, it's April 15th.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought I was right in the 15s. Yep.
Yeah, so it's right in the middle of the month. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that, and looking forward to see what the health status is for certain people.
I really had to put that disclaimer on that one tweet because I'm like, no one else is gonna think that you tweeted that. They're like, they think I'm the one that's always stirring up the pot.
Yeah.
I was just gonna.
You have to have fun with it.
The name of this episode is gonna be Sprung, which I feel like is probably a week too early, but whatever. It's sprunging.
It has sprung.
Okay. Hey, if you made it this far in the episode, we have not had a 5-star review for like a month. So please, someone drop us a 5-star review. We'll send you a damn sticker. We really need it. We really appreciate those. If you haven't liked the video already, please like it on YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube. And we will be back next week. Thank you so much for all your support. I cannot say my S's anymore. I'm losing the S's. Thank you very much. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. For Sean Kane, I'm Corey Listoki. Until next time, catch y'all guys later.
Thanks, guys.